Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the macro economics as well as we'll touch briefly on some earnings and some other stuff. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so I want to start with the price of Bitcoin. So the price of Bitcoin is green. Currently, we have this MACD death cross, which is not great. Again, last time we had this, there was a pullback for quite some time, but again, we've kind of been in a pullback this whole time. So the fact that we're having the MACD death cross, in my opinion, is kind of it's pretty much a nothing burger. I don't think it's really something to be worried about. I mean, it's mainly just gone sideways while the indicators are pulling back. They could always reverse and go back up shortly thereafter. But what I want to show you guys is this. In order to get a trend change, what we would need to see is a break and a close on Bitcoin with a candle close probably somewhere above 106,000. If we get a close above 106,000, it would have to look something like this. Let's say maybe we just get something like that. And then we test this 106,000 and then it go higher. That's kind of what we're looking for right there. So again, that's not really that much below all-time highs. So if we get that, then I'm not going to say it's a guarantee we're going to hit all-time highs, but it increases the probability very substantially that Bitcoin's probably going to go past all-time highs if it gets above 106,000, because it's literally only 2,000 away from the previous all-time highs. So Bitcoin dominance. So we got this nice big fat shooting star candle here. This is a very bearish candle. Usually it means that, especially at the top of a move, it means that whatever this is likely going lower. In this case, Bitcoin dominance, which means the alts could start to move. It does appear that they are going up, even though they have not recovered their full sell-off yet. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well. I did also want to show you guys the indices because this is kind of a big deal. So the CPI wasn't great. PPI was better. Retail sales, which we'll talk about in a minute, was I don't know. That was kind of it was a bit weird. So anyways. So the NASDAQ, you guys can see this nice big fat green candle, breakout candle here. Clearly, we're pushing against the highs. We got to get above basically 22,500 to actually hit new all-time highs, but we're getting very, very close here. And this is more so for people that are doing like 0 DTE on the indices, or they're buying different positions like I don't know, like XDTE, QDTE, SPYT, QQQT, any dividend income ETF relating to the SPY or the NASDAQ. This is more so for those people. So if you were buying like down here, then obviously in these dividend ETFs, you'd be up substantially. Or if you had options plays or whatever it is that you were doing, you'd want to be looking at this. So the S&P 500, we're pushing against all-time highs, currently testing it, haven't broken out yet, but I mean, it's looking pretty strong at this point. We got to break out of the channel. The target is the top of the channel. We hit that. Now it's just a question of whether we're actually going to push against all-time highs. Russell 2000 still has yet to break out. This does appear to be some kind of inverse head and shoulders. We'll talk about that in the macro video if and when it does play out by that time. So the grayscale trusts, quite a bit of green across the board today. Again, I suspect these are going to move up with the alts. It's just a question of when the alts are actually going to move. You guys are tired of the alts not moving. I understand. I am too. It is a bit annoying because the last cycle by this time we would have already been moving substantially higher than now. But you know, the Fed is getting in everybody's way and trying to piss in everybody's cookies, and that is annoying, right? So hopefully that gets resolved soon. So the next thing I'm going to go over here is and I know that they're worried about inflation and all that jazz, but to be honest, I don't really think it's as big of a deal as the Fed's making it. I mean, they're probably looking for recession. They're probably looking for reason to try to cause a recession, because you know the Fed is notorious for. I'm not going to say this is a fact. This is just my opinion, but they're notorious for presumably manipulating the markets. So for them to try to, pull some kind of underhanded crap like that would not shock me. But again, this is all just speculation. This is my opinion. So the next thing I wanted to go over here is, and I do want to cover this because I know we talked about it recently, was the Coinbase earnings. So Coinbase recently just had earnings after hours yesterday. They did have a beat, so that is a good sign. Now, what's interesting about this is the last couple quarters they had, it would appear that they had misses the last couple quarters, but before this, you can see as soon as they started having earnings, they had earnings for many, many quarters. I mean, the gains on Coinbase was pretty substantial. I mean, this thing went up 491% from, what was it, $50 to almost 300. So there could be a lot of upside coming here. And again, we are still in a bull trend, higher highs, higher lows. The question is what's going to happen next, right? So for those of you guys in Coinbase, keep a lookout on this. We'll talk about this in a separate video. But they did have bullish earnings for the first time in, appears to be 3 quarters. So next thing I want to go over here is the Fed Watch tool. So again, with all the data that we've gotten recently, the market's still expecting no rate cut in March. If we don't get a rate cut, that's going to suck. Trump did say that he wanted to bring the rates down. The question is, how is he going to go about doing that? Is he going to fire the Fed? Is he going to bring the extenuating circumstances under control so that they can cut rates? What exactly is going to happen? And guys, I mean, okay, we're not getting rate cuts now, but things can literally change on a dime in the markets at any point. Trust me when I tell you, they can literally change instantly. If you guys were invested in these markets in 2020 in March, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? On a dime, things can change. So for now, it appears we're not going to get the rate cuts. But that doesn't mean that the Fed can't come out and say, well, we're going to do QE in some other kind of form or something like that. I mean, anything could happen. We'll just have to wait and see. So I can't say with any certainty that anything is going to happen, but these markets are very unpredictable. We could get that catalyst any day now that just goes and sends the markets on an absolute frenzy to the upside. So earnings this week, there's a lot of big companies that reported earnings. I do not think any of these companies, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I mean, Coca-Cola and McDonald's, they could be measures of economic growth and demand, but I don't think it's as significant as something like the banks and the credit card companies. So lots of big earnings this week. You guys are free to look through these. Palo Alto, I mean, that's semiconductors in the tech company. Same thing with Applied Materials, although I'm not as concerned about that as I would be NVIDIA. Next week, there's not really a whole lot of, in my opinion, important earnings. There is some significant earnings that we have. Arista Networks, Medtronic. I mean, these are obviously big companies. So, Carvana, I'm kind of on the fence about Carvana. I don't think I would touch Carvana. I'd rather buy AMC at the current prices than touch Carvana. I mean, if it does anything like Carvana did, then, the gains could be absolutely stupid. So, and you have Block. Obviously, that's another big company, right? So, not really a whole lot going on. I think we're going to get NVIDIA earnings a couple weeks out from now. So, let's take a look at that. You got a Realty, Home Depot, Intuit, American Tower. Yeah, so we get NVIDIA on the 26th. So that could be a major market mover. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I think NVIDIA is probably going to go up. But with these very, very choppy markets, it's impossible to say. So the Bitcoin miners, they're basically just going sideways at this point. I think the market's really just waiting for some kind of QE. I think that's what's going on here. I can't say with certainty, but we're in very odd times at this point. I thought for sure the Fed would be cutting more by now, but they're kind of, I don't think they really know what they're doing anymore. I'll just be honest about it. So anyways, last thing here in terms of the portfolio, and we'll talk about Bitcoin and the miners here in upcoming videos. I haven't forgotten about that, but just want to talk about this real quick. So we did actually cut our position from CLSK in half, took a slight loss on this. Again, not worried about it. We'll make that money back easily in less than a month. It's not really a problem, but we want to make sure that our tax bill is paid, get rid of that, and then cut down a little bit on a little bit of the debt that we have. And yes, we do use margin and stuff like that. Believe it or not, that is something that every investor uses. That's actually how the rich get richer. Believe it or not, is borrowed money. So, anyways, we have been buying some AIPI. We loaded up 300 shares of SPYT, so that's going to pay $100 a month, and we're going to get a AIPI. The goal is to get AIPI up to like, it's hard to say exactly, maybe like 50 to 60, 70 shares, something like that. So, anyways, that's what's going on right now. We also did throw some covered calls on the remaining CLSK shares, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But not really too worried about CLSK. We can always buy back later if we need to. But I would say, based on the technicals right now, that at least the stock market, or stock markets, I should say, the NASDAQ and the S&P specifically, are poised to go higher. It looks like they're getting ready to break out. For Bitcoin, it's just a remainder of waiting to see a break and a close above 106,000, which, I mean, we're 10,000 off from that right now. But, I mean, is it really that much of a stretch to think Bitcoin could move $10,000 in a week? This candle was 12,000. This one right here was about 10,000. This next one was like 9 or 10,000. I mean, I don't think it's really that much of a stretch, guys. I think it could literally happen in no time. This candle right here was 13,000. So, $10,000 candles in a single week, that wouldn't shock me at all. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.